Hey, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be showing you this huge Spider-Man NWH mock that I've created for my next stop motion. Now I know this isn't my usual content, but I figured this set looked pretty good and I've put a ton of effort into it behind the scenes, so I just wanted to share it with you guys before I drop the stop motion. I'm going to be breaking this video down into more manageable sections as it's pretty huge. We've got the stand, the Statue of Liberty, the scaffolding, the minifigures, and finally the whole setup put together. There's chapters along the bottom in case you want to skip to one certain bit, but with that said, let's jump into it. First up, the stand. This was the first part I made for this mock. I made this before I actually had the Statue of Liberty figure in hand, so I had to sort of work around that. I knew the dimensions of the statue's base, so I made this plinth that it would stand on first, and then I used that as a reference for the scale for the rest of it. I used a lot of reference images to make sure I got the main features down. I did have to take a bit of creative liberty, as at this scale it wasn't possible to get all the intricacies and details in. I chose the main defining features, and it's definitely very recognisable, so I'm pretty happy with that. It won't really be seen much in the stop motion anyway, but still, I thought for the shots where it is, I wanted to make it look as good as possible. For the statue, I had to get some help. This was done by 3D Encounter over on Instagram, and I'm super happy with the way it turned out. I was considering making a brick built one, but I have barely any of the right coloured pieces, so I'd have probably ended up spending a fortune, just as much as it cost for this custom figure, and there's no way it would have turned out this good. I sent him this CMF figure as a reference and asked it to be done in this copper and brown colour scheme. There's a video over on his Instagram of him making it, so I'll let you check that out if you're interested. I'll put a link in the description. It slots together just like a regular minifigure would and has all the same points of movement and articulation as normal minifigures do. I feel like a lot of people are going to ask why I didn't get the shield.
You said it would have a shield.
I lied.
And to be honest, it just comes down to the fact that she can only really hold one thing per hand, and I thought the shield would just sort of make the scene a bit too crowded and also block the view of the amazing figure. So I chose to go without it, and having it in person, I definitely do think that was the right decision. I guess I lose a couple of points for accuracy, but it gives me a ton more space to work with when I'm animating this thing. To be honest with you, I could literally go on for hours about how good this statue looks, but I don't want to bore you guys. It's a really cool centerpiece to the mock, and it's going to look so sick with all the Spider-Man standing on top of it and swinging around it in the stop motion. To the scaffolding. In the movie, the statue's undergoing renovations, so there's all this scaffolding around it. I wanted to capture this as accurately as I could, while still having space to move the figures about and fit my hands in to animate them. So I ordered a ton of these like scaffolding pieces and got to work building up these massive columns. I made the platforms using flat grey plates. I used as big ones as I could find just to make it as stable and secure as possible, and then added some finishing touches like some ladders, railings, and just some miscellaneous pieces that would have been used by the construction teams. The floors are quite tall, so there's more than enough space to move the characters around. It might be a little bit tight for some of the fight scenes, but I'm looking forward to the challenge. Animating in a space like this is definitely going to be something very new for me, but I'm very excited nonetheless. Now, the figures. For me, it was super important to be able to tell all the Spider-Man figures apart, so I bought some custom figures for Tobey and Andrew's Spider-Man suits, as I felt the available options LEGO provided either didn't quite hold up to today's standards or were slightly out of budget. Andrew looks pretty dope. It's probably my favourite suit out of all three in the movies, and the figure definitely does it justice. I also included unmasked faces with the option of hair or a pulled up mask for all three, just so I could have a lot of options when animating. I really like the reverse expression on this one. Tobey's suit is a definite improvement off the LEGO figure as well, especially with all the leg and arm printing. Here's the alternate head. Overall, another pretty cool figure. And if you're wondering where I get all this custom stuff, I've linked it all in the description, so just check that out. Finally, for Tom's Spider-Man suit, I stuck with the official LEGO minifigure, just swapping out the arms for these printed custom ones, just to add a bit more accuracy. And also adding a new unmasked head with some scars and marks for when he's in his final showdown with the Green Goblin. For the sake of this video, here's Doctor Strange, as he'd probably come in a set like this, but won't be featuring in my stop motion, so yeah. Now, onto the bad guys. Electro is the only one that's completely custom, all the other guys are to existing parts from their LEGO figures, but as he got a complete makeover in this film, None of the official LEGO versions were accurate. I used a custom face for him from Firestar Toys as I couldn't really find any LEGO heads that looked too similar to Jamie Foxx. I also added the arc reactor piece on with a neck bracket and gave him these yellow energy blast pieces. Next up we got Doc Ock. I stuck with his tentacle pieces from the Daily Bugle set as I think they offer the best range of motion despite being super annoying to move, so yeah, that's going to be a pain to animate. And for the body, I just made something I felt kind of represented him in the movie. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. For Sandman, I have a couple variations. His all sand minifigure body, his body for when he morphs back into human form, and finally his big fig variant for when he goes absolutely sicko mode. I've also got a ton of these small tan pieces just so I can do some brick built practical effects, just to have him like morphing in between his different forms. Finally, onto the last figure, Green Goblin. Anyway, I really like Green Goblin's look in this film. I used LEGO's Green Goblin minifigure and just swapped out the face for a hooded human face, and of course I had to add his glider and pumpkin bombs, so I made this super simple MOC. It's not super accurate, but I just wanted to keep it pretty small and simple, so yeah, I feel like it does the job. And finally, here he is with his pumpkin bombs, ready to wreak havoc. That pretty much covers each individual component. So here's some shots of it all put together with all the figures and some cool lighting and cinematic effects, just to show how it's going to kind of look in the stop motion. Honestly, I'm super happy with the way this one turned out, and I'm super excited to share the stop motion with you guys. It's been by far one of the biggest and most ambitious projects I've worked on to date, and I'm going to have it out very soon. If you want to check it out, please make sure you subscribe and turn the notifications on. Trust me, it's going to be one of my best videos. Also, I just really quickly want to give a shout out to my mate Joe for editing this one. I think he did a great job. Let me know in the comments what you think about this sort of style of video. I always appreciate constructive feedback so I can keep improving my content for you guys. With all that said, I'll let this play out and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.